Hi, it's Ruby. Thanks for clicking on my video. As you can see, I moved again in my dining room. The lighting has just been super weird this fall, but that's fine. We're just gonna go with it. If you like my content and you like the way that I talk about things, please consider subscribing to my channel. Please follow me on Instagram as well. In today's video, we're gonna be talking about a question that I get asked quite a bit. And over the last couple weeks, I've gotten asked the same question in relation to Disneyland, Disney World, and Disney cruises. So this video is going to be specifically about the Disneyland Resort. And the question that I was asked was, should I bring my child, younger than the age of 3, to Disneyland? And if so, why? And if not, what is a good age? I'm going to try to answer that question in today's video. As many of you know, I actually live on the West Coast and I frequently go to Disneyland throughout the year. I've gone for the holidays, I've gone for Halloween, and I've also gone just for regular things that might be going on in the park, like Pixar, Fest. Before I had children, I very free-spirited as far as when I went and for how long I went. I mentioned in previous videos that growing up, I still remember going to Disneyland for the first time, and it was a really big deal for our family because I am one of 3 children and we live a little bit far, so we had to drive, and you know, it's an expensive thing that not every family is able to do. And so I do recognize the opportunity and the privilege that I had to be able to not only go to the parks, but be able to go as often as I have been able to. Said, I'm not going to give you a, oh, you might consider this, you might consider that type answer. I'm actually going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to try to give you some supporting facts as to why I think that you should bring your child, even if they're under the age of 3, to Disneyland. The only caveat I want to mention is that if you've never been to Disneyland and it's really important to you to experience the park without anything that's going to maybe make you take a little bit slower of a pace, and you only have maybe one day, and maybe you've saved up for a really long time, or there be some type of issue going on where you're only going to get to go for one day, that is really the only thing that I would say maybe go by yourself, or go with folks that are around your speed. Other than that, I absolutely recommend bringing your child to the park. If you've watched any documentaries on Walt Disney, then you will know that him and his team spent a lot of time thinking about what they wanted the park to be. And I don't think it's any coincidence that you constantly hear people talking about they feel like they're a kid again at the park. I think among the main reasons that is because the park is meant to accommodate really any person of any age, of any type of situation. It's really meant to be there for everybody to enjoy and to have that amazing experience that Disney offers. Disneyland, I think, is pretty accessible as far as getting there. When you park at the park, the parking lots have shuttles that are right there, and in comparison to the lots at Disney World, I find that Disney World lots are a lot bigger, whereas Disneyland is a lot smaller and it's a lot more compact. Also, the hotels are in very close proximity of the parks themselves. It might be a bit of a walk for somebody that has a little bit of trouble walking, but for me, I always get a hotel that's pretty close, maybe down 1 or 2 streets. If not, I'll park. But the walk is pretty easy to get into the park and very doable with children. The biggest tip that I can give you out of deciding whether you want to take your child or not is to understand 2 big things. One is cost, and then also the other is to leverage the website and really check out how the website is set up, whether it be on the Disneyland app or going to the Disneyland site on just your regular phone or on your computer. Disney has put a lot of information online, and they've also given you a lot of filter options, and I like to leverage that to figure out, you know, what do I want to do, what kind of rides can I go on, and what makes sense for me. Before I had children, I always heard people say that they wouldn't recommend bringing their kids to the park until they're of an age that they can remember the experience. I can see some value in that, and I can understand the rationale behind that. I think that kids sometimes levitate to things that you introduce them to, and they will surprise you. You might think that they're at an age where they're not going to absorb things or not going to understand things, but children are very insightful, and they are also like sponges. I mean, they soak up everything. That being said, I'm going to give you personal experiences on what I've done and what I think you should consider. The first time I brought my oldest son to the park, he was a little bit younger than one. So he wasn't talking a ton, still nursing him. He was walking, but it was, you know, kind of like the little wobbly walk. He wasn't super sturdy on his feet, but he was also very into animation. When he saw the characters, they didn't scare him, and he could understand the excitement that me and my family were feeling, and he was also kind of absorbing that and exerting that as well. The first time we went to the parks, it was just a regular event. We didn't go to any special events till later. I did take him to the Halloween event early in October a couple years ago, and he loved it. We didn't really have any trouble with having that age group there. I will bring up though that I've been to the park a lot of times, and so for me, being there with my child was more important to me than maybe going on every single ride or doing the thing that I used to normally do, which was run around frantically, get fast passes, go on many rides as I can, and then when I got exhausted, collapse on Main Street. I could still kind of do that with my kid, but I just had to plan a little bit more what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. Let's talk about the website itself. If you go onto the Disney website, you can actually click on things to do. It should be on the left side of the screen when you're looking at it, and you can go to attractions. And once you click on attractions, there's a filter option there. You can filter by where you're going, so downtown Disney, the hotels, or the parks. Click on that, and then within that there's a ton of categories that you can select. I think the biggest thing that kind of opened my eyes to being okay with bringing my kid to the park was when I go into the filter section, I can go on attractions and I can click on items that are for preschoolers, so younger than 5 years old, or by height. I can click on things that have height requirements or don't have height requirements. And when I saw the list of activities that I could do in the park, I was like, okay, yeah, this is totally gonna work. I can bring him to the park. You know, he can experience these rides. These are all rides that I was gonna go on anyways. Granted, there's a whole list of rides that maybe I wanted to go on that I now have to have a plan for to go on, but still, it didn't really alter my experience in the park. Also, I think that strollers have come a really long way. We have a double stroller and it's quite comfortable. I think that if you want to bring your children into the park, either invest in a good stroller or rent a good stroller. The reason for that is if they get tired, they can sit down, and also if they want to take a nap, they can take one right in the stroller. My kids were usually really good at just falling asleep, and I also tried to plan in an afternoon lunch so that we were out of the heat, but also to give us a rest while they were sleeping to eat and kind of catch up on what we wanted to do for the afternoon. And then when they woke up, food was ready, fed them, changed them, we were off for the rest of the day. If you have very small children or children that need special things such as privacy for nursing, or maybe you have to warm up their bottles, they do have baby centers in the parks and in the hotel. The park itself in Disneyland, the baby center is at the very front off of Main Street, so that's somewhere that you can stop off before you go in. I did find it was a tad bit inconvenient for me when I was nursing to go all the way back to Main Street if it was maybe the middle of the day, but you know, it is really nice and peaceful there, so if it's more important for you to have kind of a peaceful, quiet, isolated experience when you're taking care of your child, I recommend doing that, but also the fact that it was there was really great. Children that need their diapers changed, most of the bathrooms have diaper changing stations. In fact, I can't really think of any that I was in that didn't have diaper changing stations, but Disney definitely has that. I mentioned bringing a stroller. Another reason a stroller is really important, other than to carry the children around, is make sure you can take your, wipes and your diapers and whatever other items you need. You can store them on the stroller, and it makes it really convenient for when you're maneuvering through the park, so you're not having to carry things yourself. Also, it's inevitable people usually buy one or two things while they're in the park, and you can store that under the stroller, attach a balloon to it or some type of indicator, and it's super easy to find your stroller, move everything around, and then also all the rides have stroller parking areas identified clearly, and the folks that work at the park will help you figure out where to put your things. So that's also very easy, very convenient, and something I believe they've put into place to make it more convenient for families with children, and specifically small children as well. If there are specific rides that you want to go on that have height limitations, there is a way to go into the website or the app and filter for Rider Switch program. The Rider Switch program enables you and whoever else you're traveling with to experience the ride. Now you can't do it together because one of you is going to need to stay with that child. Rider Switch page, find out what rides allow for Rider Switch, and you can have your husband or whoever stand in line and go all the way through, and they'll come back and switch with you. You just need to tell a cast member when you start to get in line that you're interested in that program, and they'll walk you through the steps. but that is available to those who want to do those hardcore rides or rides that children can't go on. And it's actually a really good idea to do those rides when the kid's napping, because I do have to bring up the point that if the lines are really long, you do have to wait in a specific area while your partner goes on the ride. You might get some type of situation where a cast member will tell you, yeah, it's gonna probably take 40 minutes, so maybe go on the ride right across the way, but come right back. There might be some flexibility there. I can't guarantee that, but at least that's something that is an option for you. Disneyland also recently launched their Fast Pass program. I have been kind of looking through that to see what it is, but I've heard really good reviews. I haven't used it yet. I'm still kind of a bit old-fashioned, but you can go ahead and spend $15 per ticket and get the Fast Pass access where you're able to book your rides from your phone or from the app. It's kind of similar to Disney World, except for Disney World at this time doesn't require you to pay for that, but it is something different that is kind of nice because, like I mentioned before, we used to run around to the Fast Pass stations that were right in front of the rides, and I kind of got like the thrill of that. But now you can actually just go on your phone, pay that extra money when you buy your ticket, and you can book your rides through the app. Another thing I want to mention is that when your child is less than 3 years of age, they can go into the park without an additional cost. That means that you have almost 3 years, because when they turn 3, that's when they have to pay. But you have almost 3 years of time that you can go with your child. And if you do have small children, or if you're expecting or you're thinking about having kids, you'll understand that there's going to be a huge difference in even 6 months in age. I mentioned my oldest son came into the park when he was almost 1, but my youngest son was even a little bit younger than that when we went to Disney World, and we were still able to take them in and have them enjoy it. Yeah, they might not remember everything, but they're going to see the pictures and they're going to be able to know that we took them because I'm going to tell them. And two, because just maybe. I will tell you though, the price for if you do have to pay, so right now if you go on the site, they have younger than 3 is free, and then 3 to 9 is a specific cost, and then 10 and over is a specific cost, which I guess is now the adults. They're just saying 10 and older. The price difference wasn't huge, but it is a little bit of money, and as far as the savings go, they're still going to be on average around $100. You can get a kid's ticket for like $98 or $99 at Disneyland during the value season, but again, $100, I mean, I probably spend that much in food if I am watching what I'm buying in the park in one day. So again, if I could take my kids when they're free, I'm gonna definitely wanna do that. The last thing I wanna mention, which I thought was super cool, is Disneyland actually has a mom's panel. And you can go onto that on the website and ask questions, and they will answer your questions pretty quickly. And if you go on there, there's a ton of questions that other moms have asked, maybe some things you haven't even thought about, and that is a really good place to go look and see, you know, if there's different responses or different things that you want to know about. They actually were submitting applications for the Moms panel this year in September, and I thought about applying, but I didn't apply, which, I don't know, I have a lot going on right now, but that would have been really awesome. I think that's a super cool thing that they have as something that you can do, and definitely check it out and look into that. A lot of the things that I said were kind of specific to Disneyland, but I do want to also mention that California Adventure, all of the capabilities that I talked about are available at California Adventure as well. The only thing I would say is I've always felt like California Adventure did have more of a catered to adult audience, as far as like the fact that you can get alcohol in the park, and there are certain sections that when I'd go there I kind of felt like it was more of a grown-up vibe, but that doesn't mean it's still not a park that is catering to children. I just think they tried to make a little bit more of an effort. But as you can see, even with the Halloween party now moving to California Adventure, they really are trying to balance out the two parks and make them appealing to really any age group. And I think that's pretty cool. Considering that Disneyland is trying to grow, there's some renovations going on there at this time, especially in Toontown, and then some renovations happening in Tomorrowland. I mean, there's always refurbishments on rides taking place, but they really are trying to make the park something that's appealing and keep it growing and keep it interesting. One thing I do want to point out, since I did bring up strollers, is they do have limitations on stroller sizes now. Most double strollers still fit within the limits, but you do want to probably go on the site and check out what the sizing requirements are. And they do have like a spot marked out when you get into the park where you can show or look at your stroller to make sure it's not too long or not too wide. I understand that because some people have some very big strollers and it could be hard to go down, you know, the smaller roads or the sidewalks. I understand why they did it, but again, it's something that you need to consider. And again, it's probably on the mom's panel. Somebody's probably asked about it. And in the event that your stroller is too big, you can always rent a stroller. All right, everybody. Well, in closing, I think that you should bring your child, if they are under the age of 3, to the park. If they are of an older age group, I still think that you should bring them. If there is a reason that you don't want to, that's fine too. Not everybody wants to go to Disneyland and have a experience that involves children. Going to Disneyland or really anywhere without children is a completely different experience, and I totally understand that. But if you were debating whether you could do it and whether it's been done or makes sense, I've done it. I think that it does take a little bit more planning and a little bit more patience and a little bit of consideration of when you go where. For example, if it's a really hot day, I'm probably not going to pick the ride where my kid's going to be out in the sun burning up in the middle of the day. But you know what? Things happen and kids adapt. So whatever works for you is the best thing. You know your family, you know your children better than anybody else. So this is just my recommendation, and I hope you liked my video. If you want to, comment and bring up anything that you think I should consider for my next video or this video, or maybe something I missed that other moms could learn from. All right, well, I hope everybody has a really good weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye.